Kaufman is alive. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at a new comic book, Deadpool Wolverine number 3 by Marvel Comics. I really love this issue. This whole series has been really cool. I could see how people could be burnt out on Deadpool and Wolverine at this point, especially comic readers, not just the general public, but there's so many comic books coming out right now this past year that have featured Deadpool and Wolverine. But for me, they're two characters that I just love to follow. So I have really enjoyed this series so far. It's been a great creative team. Ben Percy, who wrote the entire last Wolverine run, issues 1 through 50, plus some other miniseries and annuals and so forth. He's the writer on this book, so he has a great handle on Wolverine and Deadpool as well. And Josh Cassara is the artist. He's on the cover here and does all the interiors. Yeah, he's a fantastic artist who has done work on X-Men. He draws a really awesome looking Wolverine here, and I love his Deadpool. I love that he's got kind of a bulked up Deadpool. Really detailed cover as well. I love all the slash marks and grittiness of this cover. Really cool stuff. This was a $3.99 book. I've looked at issues 2 and the first issue as well. I've done reviews of them on my channel. This first issue, I got the Frank Miller variant cover. So go check out those reviews if you haven't already, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. If you like videos like this, I just post daily comic book reviews and do some shorts and stuff. So go check out my channel if you haven't yet. We've got Wolverine had basically kidnapped Deadpool at the end of the last issue, and he's trying to get information out of him to figure out why has turned on him, which is kind of weird that Deadpool immediately turns on Wolverine in like the first issue. There wasn't a whole lot of like character setup between these two. You're just going into this series knowing the history between them, and Deadpool kind of is immediately brainwashed and turns on Wolverine. So it's kind of, I wonder where the series is going to go from here. You can't just have Wolverine and Deadpool fight every issue, I don't think. That would get old pretty quick, I think. But we get a reference from Deadpool to Wild Bill Hickok here. He says this is where Wild Bill Hickok was killed. He was shot in the back while playing poker. And there's a reference to Wild Bill later in this book too, which is why it's referenced immediately here by Deadpool. But Wolverine has figured out that every time he hits Deadpool, it causes his brainwashing basically to malfunction. So he keeps hitting him over and over again, trying to get the answers out of Deadpool as to what's going on here. Who's brainwashing him, what his plan is. And Deadpool says, we execute a plan to execute humanity. And Wolverine says, who do we answer to? And Deadpool says, we answer to violence. And then they start to fight here. Deadpool grabs the antlers off of this mounting on the wall here. So he's got the bone claws to go up against Wolverine. I think that's pretty cool. We get a good splash page here of Deadpool jumping at Wolverine in this old Western bar setting. And we get these two awesome pages where there's no speech bubbles or anything at all, except at the very bottom here where we get Strife telling Deadpool to delay him. So, but just very reminiscent of the Deadpool Wolverine movie. A couple scenes from there of Deadpool Wolverine going at it, but Deadpool, has got the bone antlers here. But I love the page layout here and that how they there's no speech bubbles, like I said, just the fight scene. Really awesome pages here by Josh Cassara, the artist. Wolverine just impales Deadpool here into these other antlers. Then we got Strife here riding this giant bone dragon, which is just wild. He's like an 80s cartoon villain in this series. He really is. I really love Strife. I love that they've brought back Strife for this. There's actually in the letters page at the end, there's a funny letter from a reader here. He says, it's from Javi here. He says, Benjamin Percy is a genius, and that's why I'm here. But Strife, are you kidding me? I trust Percy enough to stick around for a little while longer. After all, his X-Force and Wolverine were freaking amazing, but Strife blows. Please change my mind. Personally, I like Strife. I think he's pretty cool. So, he doesn't have his original helmet yet, but I've seen in the solicitations, and there's a preview of the next issue here, issue 4, and we see the return of Strife's original helmet, the original design. I really love that. I'm really looking forward to this cover. I'm going to be picking this one up for sure. So Strife says he doesn't understand why Wolverine isn't reacting to his call either, like Deadpool is. So they've both been like implanted with this sleeper agent, like protocol, this Manchurian candidate type of thing that Strife is controlling both of them. And also, I think Maverick, too, who shows up here in a few pages. But then we see him talking about enacting his Legacy 2.0, Strife, whatever that is. But he is bringing back to life all these dead bodies, basically bringing these zombies to life. We see Wild Bill Hickok being brought back to life here, his tombstone. He's laying here in the casket with the revolvers on his chest here. And Strife even says they act like zombies. They're going to bite people and infect them and enlist them in their cause. So they work just like zombies. And we kind of see Strife's, I guess, underground base here. You know, I like that this comic, it's all just very, fantasy and cartoony, and it's not just people sitting around coffee tables talking and making like pop culture references or anything like that. It's it's actually just like really wild fun stuff, which is something I appreciate about this comic. We got zombies, flying dragons, and just Deadpool being wacky. Again, some really cool pages, lots of blood and gore here. Deadpool's getting turned on by being in this position, he says. And they decide that every time, Wolverine stabs him, it like enacts his executioner protocol. So they're going to try and figure out what's going on by stabbing Deadpool over and over and asking him questions, so that every time he gets asked a question, he's going to get stabbed, so that he will remember the question when he's like not in the executioner phase, if that makes any sense. It made sense when I was reading it. I'm not explaining it too well. But so basically, Wolverine says, "You want me to stab you?" Deadpool says, "Full penetration, go." So Wolverine stabs him, then he asks him a question. He says, "Why are we here? What's with the execute humanity horse shit?" And he stabs him again, so that he goes like back to normal Deadpool. Now that he's asked him the question, and Deadpool's like, "Oh, I remember." He like remembers the question, and he remembers the answer. And he goes, "The Badlands are a staging ground for a good apocalypse," he says. "Embrace annihilation today for the promise of a better tomorrow." So basically, Strife's trying to prevent the apocalypse by starting a new one, which is his insane plot. And, Strife has seen the future, and he's going to see that humanity will destroy the planet. So Strife's going to destroy humanity before they have a chance to do that, basically. So, and we see this vision here a few pages later from Strife showing Wolverine all of this in a really cool panel here of Wolverine's like face, the planet dying in his like eyeball with the lightning, and there's space and the skulls coming out of him. Just really cool stuff here. But yeah, Strife shows up as an astral projection, which is how he's able to sneak up on Wolverine. Wolverine doesn't sense him or anything, and shows him the vision. And he basically tells Wolverine that he's not an enemy of Strife, he's an ally. And he needs to, come to that understanding and realize that Wolverine actually asked to work with Strife. According to Strife, he actually asked for this position to save the world, essentially, in Strife's weird, twisted way. And then Wolverine, Deadpool's asking to be let down, but Wolverine just walks away from him because he starts to sense something's coming, and he looks through the doors and he sees the zombies arrive. Zombies are very 2013, but I think watching Josh Cassara try and pull off a zombie invasion is going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. Then we get the Deadpool Wolverine letters page. They need to come up with a clever title for this letters page. It just says Deadpool Wolverine, but and there's one letter from this Deadpool fan who says, "You're my favorite. Like seriously, I'm obsessed." And then Deadpool like breaks the fourth wall here to talk to them, which is kind of cute. But an awesome issue. I really like this series so far. Go check this one out if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Go read comics.